Hello everyone, welcome to the session of specification, how to write specification of different item of works. So students, till now we have covered up the topic such as tenders and contract, rate analysis, introduction to building estimate, mode of measurement, and just in the previous session I have completed the lecture series of building estimate. So if you are not aware about all of this topic, kindly go back to the previous videos, watch them, learn them, and come back to this session. Today, we are going to start another lecture series named specification. So, starting with the specification, before we get into the specification, let me give you a scenario other than the construction industry. So students, I would like to raise a question here that have you ever bought a laptop, a mobile, or a TV, or any gadget? When you go to the electronic store to buy them, you say the salesperson that what kind of mobile phone or what kind of laptop you require. You tell them that the screen should be 15 inch, there should be 4 GB graphic card, there should be 1 TB hard disk, there should be dual core processor, and so many different things you tell to the salesperson, and according to that the salesperson will suggest you the different models and different companies of the laptop. Same goes with the mobile phone, that when you buy a mobile phone there are lots of features. You describe the salesperson that you need 64 megapixel camera, or you need the 6 GB RAM, or you need the 128 GB space phone, and so. So what you are doing there, you are specifying your requirement to that person, and according to that specification of your requirement, that person is selling you a product. So same goes with the construction industry, that in construction industry, to do any work, you need to specify the contractor. If you are a client, then you need to specify your contractor that how the construction should be. What are the quality of material? What are the quality of workmanship you are expecting from the contractor? So that is what specification is all about. So this was just a general brief idea that how specification looks in construction. Now today in this session, we are going to see introduction to specification, importance of specification, purpose of specification, and at last we are going to see types of specification. So we are going to cover up 4 topics today. So let us start with introduction to specification. So as I've already told you that what is specification, but now let us look at the technical aspect of the specification. A detailed description of quality of material and quality of workmanship required to complete an engineering drawing in accordance with the details, in accordance with the drawings and its details is known as specification. Yes, you have heard it correct. It is a detailed document which specifies the quality of material and the quality of workmanship to complete an engineering project in accordance with the drawings. In other words, a specification along with the schedule or drawings forms the part of the contract document which eventually translate the client's requirement into the construction or the building. In other words, a specification is a document that describes in words what cannot be visualized or explained on a drawing or a model. So in construction project, when there are certain details which you cannot provide in the drawing, or there is a limitation that drawing cannot explore everything regarding the quality of material, quality of workmanship, method of preparation, method of item of preparation, and other things. So we required specification, and these specifications are generally makes a part of contract documents. So they are the legal documents which helps the client to achieve his or her requirement. Moving forward, here are some of the definitions from the international standards let me read you a detailed description prepared by a consultant engineer or an architect to tell the contractor everything about workmanship which cannot be shown on the drawing. We have just covered this kind of definition in the previous slide, so I'm not going into detail again. So the second definition as per the international standards is the document that prescribes requirements with which the product or the service has to conform. This is one of the simplest definition I've ever come across. Why? Let me tell you that it says that this is the kind of requirements this product has to match. For an example, your requirement is something, that is the requirement that your final output should match. So this is about the what is specification. I hope we are good up to this point. You have to write only one or two definition. Now let us see that actually what specification is consist of, what specification is made of. So let us see. So specification is generally made up of 5 things. The first is types of material. Yes, in specification generally it is described that what kind of material or what grade of material or what quality of material should contractor use. Sometimes some clients may provide the manufacturer of the material. For an example, if your client is very strict about the quality, he will always specify in the contract document to use Ultratech or JK Lakshmi cement. Second is method of preparation of an item. This is again one of the important portion of the construction, that as a client you need to specify your contractor that how this process should be done. For an example, if you are talking about the concrete, you must specify that the concrete is going to be hand mix, machine mix, or is it going to be ready mix. And if your construction site consists of 3 of them, for an example, if you use machine mixture for columns and ready mix concrete for the slab, then you need to decide the method of preparation separately for the machine mixture, and you need to define the criteria or the preparation for the ready mix concrete, which includes from transporting, placing and the curing of the concrete. Here I have just explained about the concrete material. The method of preparation could be for number of items in a construction projects. So as there are as many as number of activities, there will be number of method of preparation for different item of works. The next is quality of workmanship. Students, this is one of the important point which you have to mention in the specification, that what is the quality of workmanship you required from it, the level of finishing, the level of accuracy, the level of kind of aesthetic view, what kind of quality from the workmanship you want to have, that you have to describe in the specification. The next is method of measurement of an item. This we have already studied in the session of mode of measurement. So again, in specification you need to define that how this item of work will be measured, how the rate will be calculated, what should be the deduction criteria, what should be included, what should be not included, and what minimum or what temporary or other equipment should include in the rate. So that is mode of measurement of item. And the last is other relevant things, such as it should confirm the ISO standard, or it should confirm the internal project quality measurements and whatsoever. So that is the other etc. things. So 5 things which your specification must have. Moving forward, let us see the importance of specification. Students, sometimes what happens that you cannot provide all the necessary information on the drawing itself. For an example, in drawings there is a side column that there is always in the at the other end of the drawing, in the separate column there are remarks, but that remarks can say about the grade of concrete. It cannot say about how to prepare that concrete, or what to see, what to check in that concrete, or what quality or what points you need to define while doing the concreting. So due to that space aspect in the drawing, you need a separate document which is specification to specify those certain things. The drawings and the specification forms to important part of the contract document. So in case of discrepancy between drawing and specification, the provisions of the specification shall govern the legal strength. Generally, the rate of an item which contractor provides to you as a client, that depends upon the specification. Higher the specification or the rigid the specification, more will be the rates. Specification is generally useful to supervise the work. Yes, for an example, you are a client's representative, you are the engineer from the client's end. The contractor is more experienced than you. He is doing the good work at the site. But as a client's engineer, if you do not know the specification of the item of work, how will you going to check that? I hope you are understanding my point. So it is very important to supervise, as a helping guide to supervise the work. And the last importance of the specification is, specifications are basic requirements to the contractors to fill up the rate in the tender. Yes, as a contractor, if you are filling up the tender, or if you are quoting the rate, you must need to know about what are the specification of that item. If the specifications are very high or very rigid, you are going to quote the high rate. Or if the specifications are normal or just below the normal, you are going to quote the normal rates. So this is the importance of the specification. There are major 5 points in the importance of the specification. You can write many more as per your thinking. Moving forward, let us see the purposes of specification. So here are the purposes of the specification. The first purpose is to describe the quality of the material for construction work. That means, students, the purpose of specification gives the answer of why we are preparing the specification. So that means the purpose or the necessity are the same. So first purpose or the first necessity of the specification is to define the quality of the materials. Students, this might sound very easy to you, but it has very immense importance in the construction industry. Majorly in the government project, if you fail to define the quality of the project, contractor is going to get the benefit from it. So you must aware that you have defined the quality of the material. The second purpose is, it enables the contractor or the engineer or the architect to procure the material and check the material as per the specification. Again, if you are a contractor, it will help you to buy and to procure and store the material. If you are an architect or the client's engineer, it will help you to check the quality of the material as per the specification. The next is to specify the quality of the workmanship for doing the same work. So as we have already discussed, that you need to specify that what level of finishing or what level of accuracy you require from your workmen. The next is, specifications are required to clarify the drawings. So as we have already discussed an example of concrete, that in general in the structural drawings, in the corner of the drawing, the column is given from the remarks in which the grade of the concrete, the proportion of the concrete is given, but the method of preparation, method of curing, when to dismantle. So this kind of points are written in the separate documents. So sometimes the specifications are required to clarify the drawings. the details is provided in the drawing, what they are trying to say, you need to provide in the specification. So these are the initial 4 purposes. Now let us see another few purposes of the specification. So here are another purposes of the specification, and the first is what we have learned already, that it helps in filling up the rates to the contractor. The next is specification is an essential requirement in the case of arbitration. Arbitration, you have already learned in the tenders and contract, that is there is a dispute between contractor and client. The what is written in the specification will be finalized. So for an example, if client is saying something else, but that is written in the specification, he has to accept that the contractor has worked according to the specification, and same goes for the contractor. If contractor is denying something but it is written in the specification document, he has to accept that and he needs to work according to it. Next is specifications are required to finalize the equipment, tools and plants which will be engaged in the work, and thus the contractor can enable the purchase or hire of those equipment, tools and plants. So again, in the specification, if you require that excavation is going to be going with the JCB or the 360-degree Hitachi, you must specify that so that the contractor can purchase or hire or can available that equipment by the start of the project. Here I have just given the example of excavation. These tools and plants can be used from the excavation to the finishing level of the project. So you need to specify each and every detail. So as a client and as a contractor, you need to follow each and every detail provided by the client in the specification. Now let us see the last topic of our session, that is types of specification. So there are 2 types of specification. First, brief specification, and second is detailed specification. So starting our discussion with brief specifications. It gives the nature and the class of work and materials in general terms to be used in various parts of the work, from the foundation to superstructure. Only a brief description of each and every item of work is given in this kind of specification. It is useful to prepare an estimate of the project, and it gives general idea of the overall work. The last and very important point of the brief specification is they do not form the part of the contract document. Yes, you have read it correct, that brief specifications are not considered as a legal document. Legal document is always detailed specification. So if you are entering into a contract having brief specification, you need to keep this in the mind that it is not a legal document. So it is not necessary to follow it. And as a contractor, do not go for brief specification. Always go for detailed specification, because brief specification does not bind the contractor legally. So I hope we are clear about the brief specification. In the summary, I could only tell that brief specification gives the outline, the general overview of the work. On the basis of that, you can prepare an estimate of the work. But to execute the work, you required detailed estimate. So now let us discuss that. So the detailed specification of particular item of work defines the quality of material, quality of workmanship, proportion of the material, the method of preparation, mode of measurement of the item of work, and the method of execution for the particular item of work. The detailed specification of different item of works shall be prepared separately and describe what work should be and how they should be executed in the construction project. The type of machinery, its operation, equipment, special tools and machinery, this all should be described in the specification. Specifications should be written in the same sequence in which the work is going to be carried out. this is one of the important point of the detailed specification, that you prepare the detailed specification in such way that the flow of the execution remains the same. For an example, if the excavation is going to be first and then the next is PCC and then next is foundation, so I should prepare the detailed specification for the excavation first, then PCC second and the foundation work third. I cannot provide the plaster specification on the page number 1 and excavation specification on page number 36. So I hope what I'm trying to focus on, we are trying to focus on that in which manner the work is going to be happen, in that sequence the specification should be written. And the last point of detailed specification is various engineering departments such as CPWD of the State Department or the CPWD department prepares the detailed specification for different item of works and get them printed into the book named as detailed specification or standard specification. Yes, in our India, CPWD department or the state public work departments generally prepares this certain specification and print them into a book named detailed specification or standard specification. So sometimes you don't have to prepare specification for each and every project. You can have benefits from this detailed specification. You can directly take the specification from this government books. Only some special condition which you required to change according to your project, that you have to mention in that specification. Otherwise, some standard procedure or some standard works you can directly take from this government books. So I hope we are clear about the detailed specification. And again, I'm repeating that detailed specification forms a part of legal document. So in case of arbitration or in case of legal aspect, detailed specification helps, brief specification does not help. Keep that in the mind. Now, before ending up the session, I would like to mention another type of project which can be asked in your examination, that is open types of specification. Let us check. It is the type of specification which are generally used in private project where the client is aware about what they need. It describes a single product or a system, but it allows the contractor to suggest an alternative or substitute. The second point is very important, students. Here, what the open specification is trying to say that it is a kind of specification where contractor is allowed to have the alternatives or the substitute of the product or the item of work. In the construction, we can say item of work. So in open specification, the contractor is allowed to suggest an alternatives or the substitute. Now here, there is a difference between the word alternative and the difference between substitute. Alternative, that means you are finding another, for an example, if I am talking about cement, forget cement. For an example, if I am talking about flooring or tiles, alternate means you are trying to find an alternate company or the manufacturer for that tiles. But substitute means you are changing the entire product. Instead of tiles, I am putting the marble stone. So that is the substitute of the tiles. But if I find the various types of tiles or various manufacturers of the tiles, so that is the alternate of the product. So contractor is allowed to do the alternates or the substitute, but the final call is from the client's end. This kind of specification have their own advantage and disadvantage. For an example, if you allow the contractor to alternate or substitute, it may happen contractor suggests very economical thing. But on the other hand, if the contractor suggests an alternative, it may happen he is going to buy them or is going to get them from his supplier at very low cost, but going to charge you the normal market cost. So this kind of advantage and disadvantage happens in the open specification. You can write this by your own word, because you can write advantage or disadvantage from the both the aspect, client's aspect and the contractor aspect. And it may happen when you write an advantage from the client's aspect, it becomes the disadvantage from the contractor's aspect, and the reverse the case. So I hope we are clear in the introduction session of the specification. So this is it. That was all about in today's session. In the next session, we are going to study the principles of writing specification. How you can write good specification. In case of any query or doubt, you can always contact me on my mail or my number. Thank you.